of money. So the tiered is all of your technical courses, your approved technical programs. They're called a tiered funding formula because the cost of the technical education, there's a higher instructional cost, a higher cost to run those programs. So there's a higher funding formula that goes into running those technical programs. And then the non-tiered is really all your gen ed, your transfer courses that are paid at a flat rate, the non-tiered. So there's not a multiplier or factor figured into the formula on the non-tiered. So each year we report, as we're reporting the data to KBOR, we're reporting everything from not only just enrollment, but number. There's several things that go into the funding formula. Enrollment is one of those, but then also the number of completers, the cost of instruction. We send in and have to formulate back to KBOR there what the cost of instruction, what our fee rates are, and all those factors. And then the state comes back and develops what it is that the tiered rate is going to be for each program based off of that data statewide. So, as we've looked at it, and again, just kind of explaining some of the misnomers that have occurred over the years. In 2011, the state went to a flat funded formula for community colleges. They went off. We used to be paid on head count, very similar to K-12. And so our rate would adjust year to year based on enrollment. In 2011, they took a 3-year snapshot of where the institution's enrollments were at. And that's what your funding has been based on since 2011. So some institutions had higher enrollments back in 2011. So they've been really overpaid, overcompensated since 2011. Others may have just been flat. I mean, our enrollment's been very, very steady since 2011. So, $200,000 gap that we've had really in all senses is pretty good. If you have some institutions that were over $1 million underfunded and some $1 million overfunded. So going forward, what the state's going to do, we'll just kind of give you an example of one. We'll just take Allen County at the very top. So Allen County has been overfunded. If you go to the third to last column, Allen County has been overfunded to the tune of $467,000. So the state this year put in a hold harmless clause that they are not going to penalize or hurt institutions for this next fiscal year that have been overfunded. But then starting next year, they will have 50% less state funding coming to them. So they would have a cut in that next column of $233,000 next year. And then 2 years from now, in FY25, it would be a 100% loss in funding. So they have a couple of years to try to be able to navigate and figure out how they're going to account for that loss. But as I mentioned, being 200,000 behind there was somewhat to our benefit. Yes. Yeah. That kind of helps explain things there, though.
Yes, it did. That is, if you can make it through, missing 200.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think the other piece of it there with the project. So, this project with John Deere was one that we'd actually taken through the state SPARK process. We started this last fall. I've gone over and testified in Dodge City for this particular project. Supposed to have gone through the state SPARK process, and they've had ongoing meetings really since last fall and even continuing on right now. Well, about mid-spring, we started talking with Heather, several of us did, about, and she had been having some different conversations with legislators and the governor about being able to maybe pull some programs out of the spark process, include them in the general fund. The only caveat was that it needed to have a 1-to-1 match. And at the time, the legislators were asking for it to be a 1-to-1 match solely based on finances, on money. And I started having conversations with Heather, and I said that makes zero sense. So we're not going to include implement, we're not going to include equipment, we're not going to include all these other aspects that aren't figured into the cost of the building. We have over, like I said, about 1.7 million in equipment and other things that have been pledged to us there through John Deere and the different dealerships that all need to be considered as part of this 1-to-1 match. So she went to work doing her thing there with legislators, ended up getting equipment, and really those non-financial types of pledges to be considered to where our 1-to-1 match met the criteria that was signed into law by the governor. So I think there were 10 community college projects altogether for about 18 million that were signed by the governor last week that had a 1-to-1 match, and then the rest will have to go through the spark process. But the other side of that there, which is nice about this, is that now that we've taken it out of the spark process, which is federal, and moved it into the state, now we don't have to worry about all the Davis-Bacon and everything that, like this project entails here with using federal money. Now that we're using state dollars, we don't have Davis-Bacon involved in that. So good problems to have there for sure.
Should we call a meeting?
Yeah.
Just no, we got a few minutes ago.
The time right on it.
7:32.
Yeah, that's
Slow.
slow. Yeah. Cell phones were saying 7:32.
Okay, great. I'll call this special meeting to order of the Garden City Community College Board of Trustees for April 26th. It's 7:32. Because this is a virtual meeting, so to speak, go around and announce who's president or who's present. Marilyn Douglas, Chair.
Beth Tendril.
Bob Larson. David Rupp. Leonard Hitz.
Shanda Smith.
Okay, and we do have some guests here. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Scott Kudrowski. Chuck Pfeiffer. Nick Nemechek.
Ron Carlson.
Jody, yeah.
Jody Toole, Madeline Lindbergh, Carla Armstrong.
Ryan Ruda.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for joining us today. We are discussing and taking action on the STEM building project. So I'll let Dr. Ruda and his guests talk about it.
Yeah, so again, over the course of the last 2 weeks, we've bid openings there 2 weeks ago. As we went into this project over a year ago, went into it there with the mindset that, particularly with the Title V program, this was really an opportunity to be able to expand learning space, expand student space with tutoring, and really the opportunities that avail from this specific project there will help us bring on 3 new academic programs in cybersecurity, robotics, and crop production there as well. Well, where we started out a year ago there on construction costs, with everything that is happening worldwide there, just from shipping to materials and everything, impacted and influenced this particular project there as well. 2 weeks ago, I'm just going to start with this sheet here on the bid tabulation. 2 weeks ago, we did have 3 companies that shown to the pre-bid and came forward with bids on this particular project. Bid Construction, Lee Construction, and American Warrior, all local based companies. Bid Construction came in with the best bid, at 4.29 million. So at that point there, once we had gone through the bid process, if you remember back to some of the conversations we've been having as we go forward with our new financing plan, we had built in $3 million into the financing for this particular project. So 3 million and 4.2, a little bit of a bridge to gap there. So, from bid opening there, I really want to give credit to Nick and Mike Seltzer and Gary Dick. They really went back and did a considerable amount of work and valued engineering to look at where some measures and some ways of being able to save while not losing the integrity of what we want to accomplish with this particular project to be in place. And over the course of the 2 weeks, it really came back just with some different, some options on different finishes and things that, again, don't change the integrity, don't change the value of what this particular project brings to Garden City Community College. But it does have some cost savings that are incurred into that. So over the 2-week period, I'll draw your attention now just to this sheet here on STEM Success Center and the changes that we have identified through the valued engineering. Over that time, over 220,000 has been removed from the base bid to the revised bid of 4,073,000. So I'll take you on just a bit of a path and then open it up there for any other feedback there from Nick or questions that each of you may have. But again, talking about where we've been at there with the 3 million that we have in the financing to where we're at now at 4,073,000. What's our plan and our path forward on that? Well, during the past 2 weeks, again, we've had conversations and Carla and I have been meeting and looking at some ways, and she had proposed that within that financing plan, we had 500,000 that was set aside for cosmetology renovation to be able to move the cosmetology space over into where Task Force Brockbuster was at. Well, in our minds and in our discussion, it is much more important for us to be able to see this project and this federal project through to fruition. And so we are recommending to reallocate 500,000 from the cosmetology upgrade and move it and apply it towards this particular project. And then the additional monies that we would look at to kind of bridge the gap and get us to the finish line. Again, talked with you about as part of the new state budget that was planned, that was signed by the governor. There's $500,000 in tax credits that's available to be sold. So in order to bridge that remaining $500,000 gap, we will use the 500,000 tax credits and sell the $500,000 tax credits to put towards closing the gap in funding there for this particular project. So, I don't have hesitation in being able to sell the tax credits, and I feel like this is a valuable project there that will gain a lot of interest to sell those tax credits and be able to apply those tax credits into this particular project. So, I think over the course of time, to be able to start at a project there that started around 2.8 million and getting to where we were at bid opening at 4.2, but still be able to be creative and find ways to get this project to come to fruition and feel comfortable about the financing and the funding for this, even at the 4,073,000 mark. Feel very confident and again, want to credit Carla and Nick and Mike Seltzer, and Gary Dick there just for the work and being able to get this to a point where we can present it to you today for consideration and approval of Dick Construction as the contractor and the revised bid of $4,073,256. Nick, any other things?
No, you summed it up pretty well. I mean, we had 3 good bids. Everybody saw it the same, just unfortunately, they saw it way higher than anybody ever thought. These numbers, it's 10,000 square feet, so came in at $423 a square foot, which is just not normal. So a lot of the forces outside of our control.
Happy to entertain any questions.
By taking the 500,000 out of cosmetology, would that then just be kind of pushed down to at some point in time in the future?
It will,
restating that?
yeah, it's not off our radar and it's something that we still, definitely want to be able, it's a project we still want to be able to see forward. This won't be this fiscal year, but we have it in our plans here for going forward.
Now, will this jeopardize your physical safety with Mia?
I'm gonna rely on Chuck to help navigate that one there.
I've taken all the sharp scissors away from it for a period of time.
'Cause I'm heading over there from here. I just need to know what I'm walking
Yeah.
into.
I think you're safe.
Okay.
On all of these things in the bids that have been cut out,
Mhm.
the 220,000, there's several things here. Somebody explain to me what it is that we're cutting out, for example, electrical changes. That kind of
So we
concerns
went,
me
the
when we.
electrical changes is kind of a combination of many things. We looked at aluminum feeders instead of copper feeders from the wire that connects the main distribution to the building. We looked at aluminum lugs inside the main switchgear. One of the big things that we asked the contractor, what was the big cost driver, was the light fixture package. So we went back and revised to find similar light fixtures that we had specified that were less expensive. So that was a $40,000 component of it, was the lights. But we're same style light, same LED, same everything. Nothing on there impacts the project negatively or took away from the project.
Yeah, well, when I see electrical changes, I start thinking about safety. I'm quite sure that you're comfortable that there's no deterioration or problem in the safety that is there, but
Our mandate was to figure out things that we could take out of the project that did not take away from the project to make it a different project than what the vision was. So yeah, everything that we took out, we made sure that we were still getting something like for like back.
what are clouds and blades?
There were some acoustical clouds that hung in the hallways for acoustics. They were long linear blades and so we felt like we could lose those and take those out of the project.
We're still gonna have bathroom sinks though, aren't we?
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, we had one large kind of vessel sink. We went just to 2 standards.
Tell me what a cloud is,
It's an acoustical element that hangs from the structure.
just,
It's it has all, we have a bunch of them in here in the collaborative learning and they're for acoustics, but they also they're for looks as well.
There were sound panels in the
Yeah.
shape of clouds. So because this.
And so we have 2 hallways that run north-south and we just took those out of those 2
that to
hallways.
take echoes out and all that kind of stuff, is that what's the purpose?
We felt like that in that short span of hallway that we could lose those, and that was something that we saw when we toured Fort Hays State's STEM, or that's not their STEM building, but a similar type building that in the back hallways that we could just paint the structure and eliminate those in that small hallway.
How about number one, the 51,000 ACM panels to metal panels, but
So ACM is like a composite metal panel. It's more smooth and glossy, and it's 3/8 thick. So it's kind of like what you see on a car dealership, maybe that kind of smooth, So we reduced that back to a traditional, just metal wall panel.
What does that change for long-term maintenance?
It shouldn't change anything.
What about the sound system?
We had a sound system in the collaborative learning area that for presentations that came out of the project. That's the infrastructure will be there, but that's a system we felt could always be added at any time. Just speakers and inputs for microphone or music or TV or things like that in that front collaborative learning area.
Getting old and harder of hearing, sound is an important thing to me, particularly if I'm in a classroom and we have conferences and stuff going on. Perhaps. If people can't hear, the effects or the purpose of the being there is kind of lost. And,
But it is something that could be added later.
Yeah, I mean, we felt that was something that could be, you could hire out in a year or two and be installed anytime.
my concern in that philosophy gets back to Pauline Joyce Fine Arts Auditorium. Sound system, piece of crap. Well, we can always update it, we can change it later, and it still doesn't get changed. And to me, that's something that, yeah, we can change it later, we can add it later. But it's something that also gets lost,
It's a lot.
and it's a little bit of a concern for me. Not opposed to what we're doing, and I appreciate the work that you folks have done to try and cut this back to where it's workable, but I just want to understand when people come to me and start asking me, why don't we have a sound system in there? Well, it was something we had to cut out because of the cost. Well, why didn't you have to do that? I just want to be able to answer the questions.
But, you know, I think the wiring and the components will still be in place with the project. We just did not include the cost of the actual sound system as part of the project. So we'll have everything in place here for, you know, like, again, the component piece of it there so that we can have the sound system as part of this. You know, this particular project would be, I mean, timeline wise, length of time there with project.
And let me go back to the electrical, for instance. That's a great, electrical came in at $700,000, which is $70 a square foot. So in a normal year, I'd say electrical is $22 a square foot. So even if we said, let's double it, we're tripled. And so electrical was a huge component. The switch gear that connects the new building, it's got a 350-day lead time. So that's what we're up against. Even, I think this project will be ready for school. That'd be the 23. But it's gonna take over a year to build it just because our switch gear it takes a year to get here.
And part of the problem we're facing is costs are going to change as time goes along. Is that correct? And we're locking those in
Yes,
pretty well to where
we're locking them in as
the
of,
costs, we know the costs are going to go up.
as soon as that we get a contract, signed contract, those costs are locked in.
All right.
So I think, I mean, to your point there, Leonard, and that was why I was asking about the timeline there, that even though we're not including the sound system within this revised bid, we still have a year and really 2 fiscal years of planning to where we want to be able to have a sound system that we can build in and include for this project as we go forward. Those are things that we still want to be able to have for full use of that space. Just wouldn't include it on the revised bid of what's being approved today, but we can be able to incorporate that into this project there.
And Nick is going to have his eye on these things as we go along, and if there's an opportunity there to take advantage of something, you're going to say, we need to change this and take advantage of it because.
Sure, yeah, if we see something changing in the market, that something comes way down, or, you know, there's a product out there.
I'm all for bargain shopping, so,
Yeah.
yeah, please.
We'll be doing that as well as we purchase equipment and things for the other programs. We've already seen some opportunities for some cost savings. So as we decide and change our minds a little bit on some of the crop production equipment, some of those savings can be moved to a sound system.
Well, and I know that you folks are keeping your eye on it, you're a student to what's going on, it's just that when I get out here in the public and somebody asks me a question, I want to be able to have an answer for that. And on the, now spiral ducts rather than rectangular, you're talking about round ducts instead of square.
We
Air
had-
conditioning ducts, is that what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
we had a round
Heating
duct,
and air
we had
conditioning,
round duct in the exposed areas, so we changed it to a rectangular duct.
and they're probably just as
They're
efficient,
just as efficient. It's just,
maybe easier to maintain if one goes out, if that'd be it.
yes. It's a look thing. And-
Okay.
And we have the benefit after we bid to go back to contractors and ask them, well, what costs so much? Because sometimes, we specify or draw things that we don't quite, we think we know what they cost, well, it turns out they were double, so. It's our chance to go back and say, what can we take out? And that was one of the things that Patriot Plumbing offered up as a solution.
Now, what are sunshades? Is that on the windows?
They were on the north. The North Collaborative Learning, they were a sunshade element on the north.
Explain that.
It's just, they stick out from the glass, and when the sun would come down, they would deflect that sun away.
Oh, okay,
So kind of like an awning.
Yeah, it's
An
a
exterior
line
light
on the exterior of the
and
building,
so we're not gonna have those,
not in this proposal.
right, okay, but that's something as time goes along that
Yes,
can be added and.
They're a part of the window system, so they can be added
Okay.
back onto the window system.
I'm gonna play the financial angel. Let's say in a year, costs go down. Well, are we locked into these costs with materials, or is there a chance that we can save some money there?
More than likely in a year, no. If it was sooner, in the next 3 or 4 months, a lot of these guys, we're gonna get them a contract, and then they're going to start ordering and procuring material because they don't know what it's gonna do if you go up. So the problem is they'll have all that material bought and purchased.
Right.
Now, it's in 3 or 4 months, maybe. So we'd like to think that something's gonna have to change in the costs
Right.
because it's getting too high. No one will be able to afford to build anything, so.
Right. Okay, and then I had a question probably for Scott, the $500,000 tax credits. What is the history of Garden City Community College collecting those or getting those? And what's the timeline? that
Well,
we
since
have
my
to-
employment in April 1st of none, but I can tell you that we had just right around $200,000 of tax credits, and they were sold in 2 weeks. I can tell you that was at 70% tax credit level. This with the state is at 60%, so it's a little less attractive for folks. I think that with the economy the way it's been and the folks we have that need those tax breaks, well, I don't think we'll have any trouble with that. It's gonna be, and I'm not familiar with, it's so new, just so they don't even have a way to access it yet, because they've got to wait for the veto session to come up and all that to pass, then they'll kick out the access section of it. I think that if we get this tax credit, we're applying for a tax credit right now for the other project at $200,000, and that'll be at 50%. And then this one will be at 60%, and the timing of it, I think that we'll be able to sell them. You have 18 months to sell them as well. From that time, I would, and I'm not sure if it's the way my brain is thinking it's working, and keep in mind I've only had 3 cups of coffee, so it may be not right. That's $500,000 worth of tax credits, which would be $1 million of revenue. So it'd be 500,000 plus or 60% of that, so it would be another, does that make sense? It would be like $1.1 million total. Is that the way you understand it, Carla?
No, is it?
And are those sold?
No, you sell them
where?
we have $500,000, and so so let's do easy math. If you sell $100,000, they get $60,000.
As a credit,
You get the tax benefit on there.
We
On
60%.
60,000.
Yes,
Mhm.
We bought a chunk the last go around that Jeremy was working on, and it was a percentage of what we paid was your actual
Right,
tax credit.
Right, so in order to get in order to get the 50, so how I tell people when I sell them is if you want to maximize that, if you want $100,000, then you need to give me $200,000 to get the $100,000. That's my brain works. So there's a possible revenue of 1.1 million or something like that.
No, we're only allotted $500,000.
Yeah.
It's the other way around.
Who do you sell these to?
Anyone that has Kansas tax liability can purchase them.
Is there an announcement made that they can see that we have those and they can apply for it?
Yeah, we could do that. I think it's probably better to approach people that have that liability.
Okay.
And then talk to them and they could do it. It's very banks around here. That's a really nice write-off for banks. They have to do that, part of what they do. And there's some other folks that we know that have liability around that would need that as well.
But there will be an announcement.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Made there once we get all the final details of this confirmed.
They know that we have them available.
Yeah, and there's been some conversations had already there with individuals that know that this is coming down. Yes, that have interest in them. So, I mean, there's been some work even over the last few weeks there, and Scott's had some conversations with individuals that know that this has been signed by the governor. So as we get the details, we'll go back and approach and then do a more formal announcement.
Well, in my mind, there's something that's easily saleable.
Oh, absolutely. It's very attractive. Yeah. It's much easier than a traditional.
Good, we can count on you then.
Do what, sir?
We can count on you then.
I'll do my best. Did that get you, Marilyn?
Yeah, thank you. The 18 months. So that was-
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, it gives you time to. I think it can be timely with tax season as well and make people want to hold off and.
Okay, so, we need to take action on this. So I need a motion.
I move that we approve the $4,073,256 bid
I'll second that.
For Dick Construction.
for the construction.
So the motion has been made to approve the bid from Dick Construction at $4,073,256 and seconded by Beth. Any other discussion or questions? Ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. We have passed the bid and accepted Dick Construction's bid. Excited for this project. Good job. Any other comments? Where does it physically land? Where does
So
it
this
go?
will be attached onto the north side of house on Method sign. So it'll be in wrapped a little bit to the east of Method sign. So as well.
Does it take out a couple
So
of?
we have 2 trees. So part of the with 4 trees that we'll have to remove. So part of the conversation with the city is, which I love trees, so we were gonna do anyways, but part of the conversation with the city when they were approving the plans, since we're taking out 4, we must replace them with 4. So,
How about the disc golf?
yeah, it's going to move one of the holes. So I think actually on that particular project, there's a student group that is looking at actually undertaking that whole. You know, we've lost 3 holes now total since we put that in.
Yeah.
So there's a student group next year that wants to take that on as a leadership project to actually redo the disc golf because it gets used
Oh,
all the time.
and when he says we, he means we.
Yeah.
We were out there, I single-handedly, unbelievable amount of wires I found digging those
Yeah.
holes.
Well, I'm really enthused about the participation that's gone into that. It's really used a lot now by people who are.
It was Dr. Valentine that wanted more people on the campus.
Yeah.
To get people. And that's why.
Good job, Bob.
No. No, I mean, these guys, it was quite interesting.
It was fun.
Well, hopefully this still with Blue Cross Blue Shield too will
Yeah,
get more.
You know,
people out.
build on that, on
That's
bringing others onto campus.
That's right.
Good idea.
Mhm.
I do remember we had to come up with a rule though, during a baseball game, because one of them,
Yeah.
Well,
you had to take whole 5 out,
Yeah.
you couldn't knock the game.
Went into the outfield.
All right, well, I'm gonna declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for helping us out with this project and getting it started.
thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the big thing,
Let's do it.
the board, Roy, wants to take that on there next year, too, that was. Yeah. Friday, yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday at 10.
Yeah, I have a
City Hall.
Yes.
Scott,